In this video, we're going to talk about regular expression functions in Excel and Google Sheets. And at some point, we'll talk about how you can get some of the patterns for your regular expressions using Google AI Studio or ChatGPT or anything of that kind. But before we do that, it's useful to at least learn some of the basics of regular expressions to know what exactly you're doing with some of this pattern matching. And that's what regular expression does. It does match a pattern within text. And these are functions you're going to be able to use in Excel, Google Sheets. So I'll probably just open the Excel version to get started just because it's going to be easier for me to zoom in and zoom out. And let's just start with going over some of the basics of regular expressions. Regular expression is a very, very complicated topic. You can literally spend weeks just learning regular expressions by itself. But you can get some of the basics down very quickly just to have some sort of understanding what exactly is going on. So let's look at this column right here. So we have different types of values here. We have some numbers, we have some text, we have some spaces. So let's open a new column here and let's try to do regular expression match. And we'll start with this function called REGEXEXTRACT. And this should be available in all newer versions of Excel and your Google Sheets. So here, the first argument we're going to have is the text. So I'm just going to point to the cell with our text, comma. And the second parameter here is going to be the pattern. And you're going to provide this pattern in quotes as text, and I'll just close parentheses, and between these quotations, we're going to provide the pattern we're trying to match. Now, in regular expression, different characters have different meanings. So for example, a very common character you'll see in regular expressions is dot, a period. So a period means one character, and it can be any character. Typically, in most regular expression versions, dot doesn't match a new line, but it will match any characters. So if I enter, you'll see it's going to give us the first character from this. And if I drag this down, it's going to give us the first character from all of these. And what's happening here, it starts the matching from the beginning of the text, from the left corner. So from the left corner, the first character is the 4. It's going to get us the 4, and there you go. Now, if I do another dot, that is not going to be 2 characters. And if I drag it, it will give us first 2 characters. And let's add a few more. So I'm going to add a few more dots here. And if I drag this, see, that will give me that many characters from the left. So super basic. Now I'm going to go back to the left. Now, let's say we want to match not just any characters, but specifically we want to match numbers. So for numbers, there is this /D. That means a numerical character, basically. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I enter, that will give us the first character, meaning the first number from this. Now, if I do another one of these, meaning like 2 digits, right? That will give us, well, you can imagine what that's going to do. But let's do 5. So now I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 digits. So if I enter, all of a sudden now you can see I don't get 4158 anymore because here it's trying to match those 5 digits from the left, but here we only have 4. So it's not able to match 5 numbers. So it's going to keep going and search for another 5 numbers. And it's able to match these 5 over here. Now, if we had any of these that start with 5 in the beginning, it would have matched that. So I don't know if there is any. It doesn't seem like there are any. But just to give you an example, if I go here and add another number, you'll see in this case, it will match this first 5 instead of the last 5. Now, it's possible that you're only trying to match the numbers if they're in the beginning. So you only want to get the first 5 digits if they appear in the beginning of the text rather than anywhere in the text. Because right now, if I drag this, Well, this one is going to give me from the beginning because we have 5 here, but the rest of these is going to go grab all the zip codes because that's the second possible match. Now, what I could do, I could go in the beginning of this and add this character, Shift 6. And this character in the beginning of regular expression pattern means it starts with this. So if we start with this, we're saying that the characters we're doing, they have to appear in the beginning of the text, not anywhere in the text. So if we hit enter now, you'll see it will still match that same 41585. But then if I take this and I just drag this, then for the rest of these, we get NA, meaning there's no match for the rest of these because they don't have that 5-digit sequence in the beginning. Now, there's also the opposite of this. So if I take this out and go in the end and add a $sign in the end of this means we're searching the end of the text. So right now, instead of looking in the beginning for 5 digits, we're really looking for those 5 digits in the end. So in this regular expression, it's going to give us the last 5 characters, assuming they are numbers. Now, if you had some other text here, let's say here, after the zip code, there is something else, it wouldn't match it because it doesn't appear in the end anymore. So keep that in mind. I'll take that $sign off, but now you can see that means the end of the text or the beginning of the text if we do the Shift 6, that caret character. Let's also talk about some special characters that will affect the previous character. So for example, instead of doing this D like 5 times, I could have done this curly brackets and then do 5 and then close the curly bracket like this and hit enter. And if I drag this down, you can see I'm going to get the same results. This means we want 5 of the previous character we defined. So the previous character was this numeric digit, and we're saying we'd like to have 5 of those. Now, another modifier we can do here instead of this is the plus modifier. The plus after that D means we're looking for 1 or more numeric characters. Now we're not saying we want specifically 5. We just say we want 1 or more. Just match as many as you can, but there has to be at least 1. So if I'd enter for this and just take this and drag it down so you can see the results, you're going to see basically it's going to get us as many characters as it can. And again, it currently will find that in the beginning of the text because it's searching from left to right. We didn't specifically say that it has to be in the beginning. If you want it to be in the beginning, you would have started with this, which in this scenario will get you the same results. So I'll take that off, that beginning. Now, there is also, instead of plus, the star. So the star, unlike the plus, doesn't require for a character to be there. So here we're saying 0 or more of the previous character. Again, in this particular instance, the results are going to be the same. Depending on what you're trying to do, sometimes you may want to require at least 1 character to be there, and sometimes you don't. And that's why plus is usually something that you'll end up using a lot more a lot of times than the star. Now, so far, we're really doing like this D, meaning like a numerical digit. So let's also look at this W. W means alphanumeric character. So basically, it's going to match text or numbers for us. So you can see we got, well, in this case, we're going to get the same results. We're getting like as many text or number characters as we can, and space is not one of those characters. So you can see when it gets to a space, it doesn't continue matching the rest of the text. It just stops here. Now, the space character has its own special character here, which is this S. This means a space character. So here, if I do this and drag this down, now this is going to match that alphanumeric text, as many as it can, and then one space. So right now there's one space here sitting after this 5. Now I can also go here and continue and do another of this W characters with plus. So again, one or more text characters again. And basically that's going to be essentially the first 2 words, you could say. So we got like this, and then space, and then this kid. So as many of these characters as it can match until the next space. And that's what we got. So we got all these characters. Now let's say you don't want to match the numbers at all. You just want to match specifically text characters. So for that, what you can do, you can use a set. And a set is like this. A set of square brackets like this. And let's also do another set here instead of that W. And here you can do a set of characters. So we can say A to Z and then uppercase A to Z because it's going to be case sensitive by default. And then here, again, we can say A to Z or A to Z uppercase like this. Now, if I do this and drag it down, you're going to see we're going to match 2 words, but now our number in the beginning, it's not going to be one of those words. So it's able to match this kid and avenue as the second word. So we're saying that we're trying to match characters lowercase a to z and uppercase a to z. And this is just one character. But then because we have the plus, we're saying there has to be one or more of those. Now, you don't have to go A to Z. You can say, I want to match A to N and A to N, and then the same thing here. And then if I drag this down, you're going to see that now it's only going to match the characters that it can that are within this range, A to N, right? So you can also just say which specific characters you're after, but here I'm just going to go the whole set. So typically you're going to see this A to Z, but know that it's not bound to going through A to Z. You can start from, for example, from C and go until whatever character you want, like this. So that's that. So that's A to Z. So we can do this. Now you can add more characters here if you wanted this to also match the space as one of those characters. So if I do the S character right here, then we're saying we also want the space. Let's actually get rid of all of this for a minute so you can see what happens. So I'm saying the characters I'm trying to match are A to Z lowercase or A to Z uppercase, and then also space characters. And then I want one or more of those. So if I enter, see, it's going to give me the space right here after the number, because that's the first character that matches one of those characters. And then it's going to keep going, kid avenue, and then it's going to stop at this comma, because comma is not one of those characters. Now, if I go here and also add numbers to this, so let's say I go here and do 0 to 9, and then the space. So now I'm saying it's lowercase a to z, uppercase a to z, 0 to 9, meaning all the numbers. See, it's basically just going to get us all the stuff right before the comma. Because once we hit the comma, comma doesn't match any of those characters. Now at this point, I also want to talk about negative characters. For example, when we do something like D, like so, this means a numeric character. And if we do plus, we're saying one or more of those numeric characters. So that's what I got. Now that's lowercase d. Now if I take that and uppercase this d, that means not a numeric character. So now we're saying let's match not a numeric character, and let's do one or more of those. So if I enter, see, it's going to get me right after this number, we have this space, and then it's going to match all of these characters, including the comma, including this city and state here, and then the space, and then it's going to stop here with this number, because once it hits a number again, then it's a numeric character, so it doesn't want a numeric character. So this is a negative number character. Now you can also do this negatives in a set. And the way you do that, if you do a set like this, so in a set, if I wanted to do basically the same thing, 0 to 9 would be, let's just match numbers, essentially. That would be the same thing as doing the D. And that's going to give me the numbers. Now, if I want this to be the negative, the way I do that, I go within this square bracket set and add this caret character, shift 6. This is the same character we used to use in a beginning to say it has to be in the beginning of the text. So you can see the same character in regular expression in different positions can have different meanings, and that can make it more complicated. But here, within the set, in the beginning of the set specifically, that means negative of whatever is to follow within this set. So that would basically give us that same thing as uppercase D in this case. Now, what we could do, we could also do something like this. We could say it shouldn't be a comma. So I'm saying negative comma. So basically, it's just going to match anything until it hits a comma, and it's going to stop. So you can see that's exactly what happened. It's going to just keep going until it hits a comma here. It's going to stop. And this is your result. So with what we just learned, let's just do a couple of examples of things you might actually do. So let's say you have this, and from this you want to get this first number out of it. So the way you would have done that, you would have done your regular expression extract function. You would point to this data, comma, and then as a pattern, you would say it starts with, and then digit 1 or more. So that would give you the first number in the beginning of this. Obviously, if you wanted the zip code, which should be the last 5 characters, and it should be the end of the text. Now, if it's specifically 5 characters, you probably wouldn't do a plus. So first of all, you would have done here a $sign. Now, if it's certain number of characters and you don't know how many, then you would do D plus, and that would give you this. Basically, it will get you as many numbers from the end as it can. But if you specifically want to look for 5 of them, then you would have done this. So 5 numeric characters in the end. And in this scenario, it's going to give us the same results because we have our zip codes in the end, and that's what we got. Now, let's say you don't want just the zip code, you want state zip code from this. Then, in addition to this 5 digits that are numbers, before that, you would want a space. And then before the space, you would want 2 text characters. And you would do a set, and you can do A to Z or A to Z. If you know they're going to be uppercase, then you can do A to Z, only uppercase. But we can also do lowercase like this. And then we can say there has to be 2 of those characters. So now we said basically we are looking for 2 characters like this, and then a space, and then 5 characters like this, and then the end. And with this, if I drag this down, it's going to get us state and zip code from this. Now, what if we want to match the city from here? So like Palmer, Little Rock, Phoenix. So basically to match the city here, we're going to have to go after the comma space and then get the rest of this, whatever this is, until we get to the state and zip code. So let's first of all just do that. So I'm going to keep this much. So we have the state and zip code already here. Now, before the state and zip code, we're going to have the city, which is basically going to be some text and some spaces. So for that, I'll do another set. And we can say it has to be 1 or more of these by plus. And then here we can say it has to be A to Z, lowercase, or A to Z, uppercase, or a space. So right now, if I'd enter, you're going to see it's basically just going to match all those characters basically after the comma, right? So after the comma, because we said just grab all the characters that are just spaces, text, or anything like that, but we didn't include comma as one of those characters. So it's not going to include comma in this list. Now, if we wanted to, we can also add that comma. So we can just say, let's just put a comma in here right before this, and then it's going to match the comma and then all of those characters. So now, as you're looking at this, you're probably thinking, well, this is all great, but we probably don't want all this extra stuff. We just wanted the city. And this is where you can use a group, a capturing group. And the way you do that, you'll go within this and you'll just put the part that you actually want to extract in parentheses. So I'm going to say, get me this part. So this is the part that follows that comma, and then it's going to be text characters or spaces until we go to that 2-character text followed by 5-digit number. So I'm just going to wrap that part in parentheses, hit enter. And you'll notice nothing really happened. We didn't really get that particular parentheses part out of this. And for that, we have to change something here. So we're going to go after this and add a comma. And here we have different types of matches we can get out of this regular expression. So here we can change this to be a capture group. And if I enter and copy this down, we're going to get that capture group as opposed to getting that whole thing. So we're basically just extracting the part in parentheses. Of course, that part in parentheses also contains a space before the text. So what I could do, I could say, well, after this comma, there's going to be space. And then there's going to be that group of different characters until we get to this 2 characters here with some digits, but then there's going to be another space here. So we should probably add another space here to also get that space out of the group. And there you go. That should essentially now give us the city part out of this by using capturing group. Now, this can be a little different on Google Sheets version of this function, because Google Sheets version of this, I don't think it has this return mode as we have in Excel. So let's just try this. So I'm going to copy this. I'll go to Google Sheets. I'll add a new column and we'll just paste it here. And if I hit enter, see, I get NA. And what I'll do, I'll just remove this comma 2 part like this and just keep this the way it is. And Google Sheets basically just does that automatically without specifying that it has to be that capturing group. So if you use parentheses, it's just going to do that capturing group. But the rest of these, as you can see, it's exactly the same. We now got the city from this. Now, obviously, you can probably already see that regular expression gets really complicated really fast. So now let's try to do this using something like Google AI Studio or ChatGPT or whatever it is you're trying to use. I'm going to use Google AI Studio. So you'll just copy some examples. If you have proprietary data, you probably don't want to copy like emails of people. So you can just make things up as a sample. But I'll just copy this as a sample. And I'll just go here and I'll say, I need regular expression to match domain from this list. Well, probably it helps if you type domains correctly. And a lot of times with something like this, it will probably give you like a long explanation. If you don't want the long explanation, you can say, just give me the pattern only, no explanation. And right now I'm going to be using Gemini 2.0 Flash version. You could do 2.5. I just find that it's slower because it thinks too much when you do 2.5. But if you find that 2.0 doesn't do what you want, you can switch to 2.5. It's going to be more advanced. So I'll do this and run this. So that's what I got as an example. So I'm going to copy and go to, in this case, my Google Sheets. And I'll just create a formula here. I'll just do equals regex match, actually regex extract, this one. I'll point to this, comma, and then in quotes, I'll just paste the pattern. Close parentheses, hit enter. Now you can see I got a reference error and it says array results was not expanded because it would overwrite data in F2. So let's just add another column here. It seems like it gets more results than I would expect. So see, it gets this and then it gets the .com part. Now let's try the same formula in Excel. Now in Excel, if I go to that file and add a column and paste. Now, if you look at this regular expression, you can see that this regular expression has parentheses in it, meaning it has a capturing group. So for that reason here, we're going to make sure that we add a comma, and here as a return mode, we're going to do capture groups, first match. And again, we got the spell error because apparently we're getting more than one result. So I'm going to add another column, and that should give us, again, this and this. So it gives us two different things. It gives us the actual parts that we actually wanted plus the .com. And the reason for that is because here, if you look within this regular expression, it has two parentheses. It has one parenthesis here, which is for that .com part. And then it has another parenthesis here, which is for that whole email part. Now we probably could just take this parenthesis inside out of here and just drag this down and get our results like this. So that's one way to go about this. We can also just go back and ask a follow-up question. Basically, we can say it also gives us the .com part separately. We just want the domain. So let's try that. Let's go back to that Google AI Studio here and say, this gives me .com part as a separate match. I just want the domain. So it gave me something else. Let's see if that makes any difference. So I'm going to copy this, go back here and try this again. So I'll just paste this as what I want, hit enter. And again, apparently based on what it did, it still did another capturing group here. So you can see it's not perfect. So in some cases, it's going to be a little harder to get that. In some cases, it's going to be a little easier to get that. So let's try this one. So we have this, and let's say we're trying to get the area code. So again, you can make up some samples for Google AI Studio. You could have said, give me area code, or you could say first 3 digits of the number, or first 3 number digits, something like that. And I'll just copy, once again, this regular expression, and I'll give this a shot. So I'll go here, and I'll just do a formula, point to this, comma, and then paste the actual regular expression, which apparently came up with a whole bunch of lines. So I'm going to have to get rid of those. So that's my expression in quotes. I'll hit enter, and that gave me apparently that. So that it gives me the number and the dash. That's not really what I wanted. So I'll go back and do a follow-up. I'll just say, I just want the first 3 digits, let's say numeric digits. Okay, so that's the new one. So I'll copy this, go back, and paste it here. Apparently that copy didn't go well. Let's try to hit this copy button. Maybe that way it's not going to get me all those extra spaces, so I don't have to. Yeah, that's better. So I don't have to remove all the spaces. Hit enter, drag it. It's better, but it still gives me the parentheses. And you can see this is one of the things that I would find it easier to probably just write it myself than to deal with this, but we can obviously go back and keep following up, shape this up and say, well, it gives me this extra parentheses. Can you do that? But, if you know some of the basics, here you could just say, based on all the examples we did, we want like a digit times 3, right? That's really what we want. So it's going to just get us the first 3 digits it's going to be able to find from this, and that should really be it. And of course, we could have done the same exact thing in Google Sheets, right? So if I do regular expression extract function, point to this, comma, paste that same thing. Let's actually paste the whole formula. Same thing. Should just give me first 3 numerical digits out of it. Let's also try this one. Let's say we want to get the year out of this. Let's see if it can do that. Or we can say, let's get the part after the year. All right, so here's the regular expression. So I'll copy that, go to our Google Sheets in this case, and I'll just use that here. So I'll just add another column. I'll just do another formula, point to this text. Let's do this in a formula bar. It's going to be easier here. And in quotes, I'll just paste that. Close parentheses, hit enter. That one actually went much better, as you can see. Now, let's also take this and do this in Excel. So if I copy this, go here, and we add a column here. And we'll point to this text, comma, and then in quotes, we'll just paste our pattern. Oops. Let me paste the whole formula since I copied the whole formula. And you can see we get the whole thing in Excel, and that's the part you want to watch out for, right? If you have any parentheses, that means it's a capturing group. So in Excel, you have to remember to do this comma and do the return to be the capture group as opposed to the whole match. And that should basically get us the same result. So again, like that was done pretty much without me knowing anything about this. Like if you didn't know anything about regular expressions, just could understand that parentheses is a capturing group. Let's modify that to get the capturing group as opposed to the whole match. You should probably be able to use that. So you want to try this. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect, right? There are cases when it's going to work. Sometimes it's going to give you some gibberish. Welcome to the AI world. Always make sure you check your results. But you should be able to match a lot of things out of your text using regular expressions. And that was regular expression extract. So regex extract function available both in Excel and Google Sheets. Maybe if there is enough interest, we'll look at some of the other regular expression functions like regular expression replace or the other regex match or regex text. And we can look into those functions. If there is enough interest, let me know in comments. Always drop in comments what other videos you want me to do. I typically just look at the comments, and if there is something that catches my eye, I'll just pick that as one of the next videos. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.